What up, gang? Carolina Jackpot time coming at you. It is Saturday afternoon. I hope you guys and gals are doing good today. It is cold, raw, and rainy here in the upstate of South Carolina. From what I understand, is that way throughout much of the southeast. So hopefully you're at home where it's warm. You got some comfort food in front of you. You got a cold beer in one hand, or whatever kind of cold drink that you be sipping on. And you got some college football on TV. That's where I'm fixing to be here in just a few minutes. And speaking of college football, that's the subject of today's video. I want to talk some Cheez Citrus Bowl and give you my official prediction on the South Carolina Gamecocks versus the Illinois Fighting Illini, which is going to take place at 3 o'clock on New Year's Eve. But before we get into that, hey, if you're new around here, consider staying true around here. Subscribe to the Carolina Jackpot channel where we talk college football all year long, and we have a heck of a good time doing it. Also, if you don't mind, hit the thumbs up on this video if you enjoy it. It really helps me out with the YouTube algorithm. It doesn't cost you a dime, and I really do appreciate it when you guys do that. Thanks in advance. We're going to live stream that game here on the channel on Tuesday afternoon. We'll be starting it up right around 3 o'clock. You see, that's why I'm out in this truck today, doing some work to get ahead for next week so that I won't miss any stops that I'm supposed to be taking care of while we are live streaming that game, because there's no way that I will miss this one. Illinois comes into this game with a record of 9-3, so them and South Carolina both with the identical records coming in. Brett Bielema is the head coach of the Illinois Fighting Illini. This guy's got a lot of experience. So Illinois, in terms of head coaching experience, greatly outweighs South Carolina. He also greatly outweighs South Carolina on the scale, but, you know, I kind of put that one up on a tee, didn't I? Yeah, I did. Bielema was the head coach at Wisconsin a number of years ago, if you'll remember, and he had some success there. And then he took the job at Arkansas, and it was a flop. That was a coaching move that Carolina Jackpot just did not understand at all. But Illinois and Wisconsin, kind of similar programs. Wisconsin's had more success over the years. Illinois has been marginally successful in the past and kind of went through a long period of being in the doldrums until Bielema came and kind of resurrected them a little bit. Now, he's had a couple of 5-7 seasons, but he did have a nice season back in 2022. Almost knocked off Michigan when they were the top-ranked team in the country, if you'll remember that one. And he's put together a good campaign this year. Just looking at their win-loss record, as far as good wins on their schedule, one would look at the game against Kansas, where they were an underdog, and they won that one straight up. That was a home game. And then the game at Nebraska, where they were, I think, about a 9-point underdog on the road. Not only covered, they beat Nebraska. They were also an underdog at home against Michigan, and they won that game. So Illinois has been a covering machine this year. Now, none of those teams really turned out to be that good. So were those really good wins? I don't know. Of their 3 losses, the most disappointing loss would have been the loss to Minnesota. And they've also lost games on the road to Penn State, a game they lost 21-7, which was kind of a hard-fought contest. They covered the spread in that game. Then they went out to Oregon, and a lot of us were picking them to cover spread there, and they did not. They got blown out 38-9. So Illinois doesn't really have that big signature win on the schedule. Looking at South Carolina's one-loss record, of course, the Gamecocks come in with a record of 9-3. The worst loss that they had on the year, points-wise, 27-3 to Ole Miss. To a team record-wise, would have been the 8-4 LSU Tigers. The other loss for the Gamecocks coming by 2 points on the road at the 9-3 Alabama Crimson Tide. South Carolina, of course, big wins that they had on the year. You would look at the win over a ranked Mizzou team at home, the win on the road against a ranked Vanderbilt team, the dominating win at home over a Texas A&M team that up until that time had only, they hadn't lost an SEC game. So one can only speculate on what happened to them after that game. Were they just really not that good? Or did the Gamecocks kind of mollywop them a little bit and send them into a tailspin? I have to think it was the latter. Yeah, but those are some of the good wins on South Carolina's resume. Of course, the aforementioned also went to Alabama, dropped the game by 2 points, showed a lot of guts coming back from being down 14-0 in that game, pushing the Crimson Tide to the absolute limit in a place where Alabama does not lose games very often. In fact, most of their wins come in blowout fashion, even against good competition. So South Carolina's had a lot to be proud of this year. Illinois, offensively, of course, led by quarterback Luke Altmaier. Got 21 touchdowns and 5 interceptions on the year, so he's pretty smart with the football. Now, he is going to be missing his number one receiver in Pat Bryant, who had 10 touchdown catches on the year, almost 1,000 yards worth of receiving. He's opted out to get ready for the NFL draft. Let me go up on a soapbox here for just a moment on this one. Allow me the floor on this. Look, I have tried to look at that from an objective point of view. I've tried to see the point of view of the players who are opting out of these games to get ready for the draft. And I'm sorry, I can't sit there and tell you that, well, okay, I can see this, I can understand that. I'm not going to sit here and say I understand and coddle these guys and say it's okay, but we'll be all right. I understand. I don't like it. I don't like it. And that might just be me being an old fuddy-duddy, and if that is the case, well, then an old fuddy-duddy I am. Because I don't agree with it. I've never agreed with it. I'm never going to agree with it. Thankfully, it seems like this opting out BS is starting to become less in vogue, if you will, than it has in years past. Cases in point, Cam Ward for the Miami Hurricanes, star quarterback, didn't win the Heisman Trophy, didn't win the ACC as they were predicted to do, but this guy's going out and he's going to play in the bowl game today in the Pop-Tarts game against Iowa State. Shedeur Sanders, another one who had Heisman Trophy-like numbers for Colorado. Travis Hunter, Heisman Trophy winner for Colorado. These guys are playing in their bowl game. And they didn't win the conference. They fell short of their goals, but they're going out and doing it. To me, if I'm an NFL scout, I kind of look at that, and I kind of look at it favorably, you know? These guys had opportunity to lay out of that bowl game, but they didn't do it. They wanted to play. To me, that's a feather in their cap. And maybe I stand alone on that. With the revenue sharing that's coming up, that's going to become a part of college football, I think they are, and I've heard that they are going to try to work that in somehow where revenue will either be cut, held back, decreased, whatever, if you don't play in the bowl games. So I'm hoping that just totally eradicates this shit, because there's no use in it. There's no sense in it. It doesn't make sense. It's not good for the sport. It's a bad look. And all the young folks can sit here and tell me, well, why would he make he's making a business decision. Why risk millions in the NFL? Hey, how about this? You could risk your millions in the NFL on a random October game against Oklahoma. You can get hurt at any point, any time. How many people have you seen suffer a career-ending injury in a bowl game? I mean, I don't know of any, to be honest with you. I don't know of any. None come to mind. Now, somebody in the comment section will probably find somebody who played for Oregon State in 2004 that got hurt in a bowl game and let me know all about it. And they forfeit their NFL career because they fucked up their knee or something. But no, okay, I don't know that. So I'm sure it has happened, but the chances of that happening are so minuscule that it's just a poor excuse, in my opinion. So let me get off that soapbox, where this video will go on forever. Zachary Franklin will be the target now for Altmaier's passes. He's the second leading receiver, 600-something yards, only 2 touchdown catches on the year. In terms of running the football, they kind of split their carries up a little bit. Their leading rusher has about 500 yards for the year. Their second leading rusher has about 480. So it's kind of a two-headed deal there, whereas the Gamecocks, Rocket Sanders, who was opted out, had almost 900 yards on the year, but his backup, Oscar Attaway, only had, I think, about 250 yards on the season. So Oscar Attaway had done some good things for us, and hopefully he does that in the bowl game. I was looking at Illinois on, I'm going to say looking at them on film. I'm not a film studier, but I did watch some highlights of a few of their games. And the one that stands out to me is the game at home back on October the 12th against Purdue. And if any of you guys will remember that one, that was the one where Illinois won 50-49 in overtime against an absolutely dreadful Purdue team. And I thought this game was nip and tuck the whole way. It wasn't. Illinois was up at one point like 27-3 before they started letting Purdue come back in the second half. Purdue's running back and their freshman quarterback, was that ring a bell? Last name of Brown, just absolutely gashed Illinois on the ground. So I'm thinking that Lenore Sellers is going to be able to exploit Illinois with his legs, much the same way that he did against Clemson. Reading an interview with their defensive coordinator, he was talking about trying to replicate him in practice to get ready for this bowl game. And they're trying to do it with a 6-foot, 210-pound quarterback, like a freshman backup QB that they've got. That's who the Lenore Sellers is. So good luck with that. You're not replicating them with a 6-foot, 210-pound frame there, my God. But so I do think South Carolina is going to be able to move the ball. I'd like to see the Gamecocks be able to move the ball through the air in this game. Mazio Bennett and Jared Brown, 2 receivers who've been banged up, kind of both got banged up in that Texas A&M game. Both should be fully healthy by this game. They've had time to rest and get ready for it. So I would like to see them make an impact in this game. It looks like Brady Hunt, the tight end, is probably not going to play in this game. He hasn't practiced at all for the game, so don't look for him to be a part of it. But, I mean, has he really been part of the offense much at all this year? I mean, what have they targeted this guy with, like, 1 pass? I mean, I don't know that he's mainly used for blocking purposes or what, but I remember being real excited when we saw him come in from Ball State, and they just hadn't done a lot with him. Josh Simon's been the tight end for the Gamecocks. He's a tight end, but it's kind of almost like in a wide receivers type frame, like a big possession type wide receiver. I'd like to see some more of Dale Von Campbell, too. This should be his last game for the Gamecocks. He was a big, tall, possession-type receiver that did some good things down the stretch, especially there in that Mizzou game. He also caught a touchdown pass against Clemson there on that next to last play. Fort Sellers ran that touchdown in, but they didn't call it a touchdown. So it was an incomplete pass. I didn't even review it right there, did they? Gage Larvidan's the other one that really didn't pan out a whole lot for us this year. I'd like to see if he could do something in this bowl game to make a difference here. The Gamecocks need to rely on moving the ball through the air somewhat in this game. With no Rocket Sanders there, I think things will be mixed up a little bit more. Offense maybe not quite as balanced as what it normally has been. Illinois looks like they've sacked the quarterback 30 times and gotten sacked 28 times. South Carolina has sacked quarterbacks 40 times, but they've given up 38 sacks. So South Carolina given up significantly more sacks than what Illinois has. But if you'll notice, down the stretch, South Carolina's offensive line started playing a lot better. They gave up 0 sacks against Texas A&M, also gave up 0 sacks against Mizzou. Consequently, on the flip side, you didn't see South Carolina getting the sacks from Dylan Stewart and Kyle Kennard the last few games that they had. I pretty much attribute that to so much of them by that point being on film that defensive coordinators were able to scheme up a little bit to block those guys where they kind of took them out of the equation just a little bit. They did like the Clemson game. You didn't see any sacks from those guys, but they were constantly in the backfield applying pressure. Who applied the pressure on the pass that Klubnik threw that got intercepted? Yeah, it was Dylan Stewart. So the dumbass Tater fans who were sitting there, you Superman didn't get any sacks against us. Impacting a game in other ways is also important, just as much so as getting sacks. Sacks are pretty. Sacks show up in the stat sheet. There are other things that don't show up in the stat sheet that are just as pretty there as well. So, just with all that being said, looking at all this, what does this tell me? What does this tell us? South Carolina's played a much more difficult schedule than what Illinois has. South Carolina is also, I think South Carolina will be able to move the ball. I think the opt-out of Rocket Sanders is not going to affect Illinois as much as the opt-out of their leading wide receiver is going to affect them. So just looking at it from that perspective, I think South Carolina wins this game. I think South Carolina covers. I don't see any reason to think that, and really a lot of it just hinges on that tape I watched from that Purdue game. And that quarterback ran all over these guys. There are yards to be had against that defense, and I think South Carolina exploits it. I think South Carolina could potentially eclipse the 40-point mark in this game, but I'm not going to call for it. I'm calling South Carolina 34, Illinois 17. I think we beat them by double digits. I think we cover the spread, and I think we win going away. I think it caps what's been a really, really good season. And this will be a good bowl win, guys. If we are indeed able to get it, don't let anybody tell you, well, you didn't make the playoffs, it doesn't matter. Yeah, I know all that crap. The Citrus Bowl is the best bowl. If you don't make it into the college football playoff, this is the one that's immediately on the outside looking in. It's not the one that Alabama's playing in. It's not the one that Ole Miss is playing in. It's this one. So this is a big marquee bowl game that South Carolina's in, and played at a good time in a good venue. Going to be a lot of eyeballs on this one. South Carolina is going to make a good showing on New Year's Eve, and we're going to get a nice victory there in our first time ever matching up with the Illinois Fighting Illini. And make sure that you're subscribed to this channel and you've got your notifications turned on so you'll know when I'm getting ready to go live and when that thing goes live, because you'll want to come over here and watch that live stream with me. Some of the best fan reactions that have ever been recorded in terms of college football fans is from me, supposedly. I just think I'm a guy sitting here watching football, yelling at his team, but everybody else says they're gold, so I'll take that for what it's worth. Anyway, guys, I hope to see you there. And as I said, stay tuned to this channel. We may live stream that game tonight, Colorado game. I'm interested to see it. If not, we might do some of it. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, I will talk to you guys later on. Appreciate you. Peace. I'm out of here. Go Gamecocks. Woo!